Sup aficionados, this is Omnia, your editor-in-chief. Suhaila, one of our contributors here at Obscure, had the honor of interviewing Naqqash Khalid for his new short film, FLINT, which is out on BBC iPlayer on the 27th, which is tomorrow if you're listening to this on day of release. The short film just won an award at the London Short Film Festival, and Suhaila's interview with Naqqash gets into all of the intricacies of putting together a film based on abstract dream, and really gets into the nitty-gritty details, not just of inspiration and process on Naqqash's part, but also in terms of the practical application of that into a film, a tangible thing. We want to thank Naqqash for his time and highly encourage you to see the film on iPlayer. If you'd like to support Obscura, you can subscribe as a paid aficionado through the website, £5 a month or £53 a year. And of course, you can shop our merch at shop.obscura.co.uk. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy this amazing interview with Suhaila and Naqqash Khalid.
Hi everyone, this is Suhaila. I'm here with Naqqash Khalid, the writer and director of the award-winning short film FLINT. It's about a man who goes back home to heal, but things slowly start to unravel for him. So thank you, Naqqash, for being here. I'm so excited to chat about FLINT.
I'm excited too. Like I was saying to you before we started, I actually haven't spoken to anyone about this film. So it still feels like it lives in this inarticulate space. So let's see what you get out of me.
First off, congratulations on winning the Best UK Short Film Award at the London Short Film Festival. What was it like actually getting to see your short film on screen with an audience for the first time?
I always feel a bit ill. I'm not gonna lie. When I'm watching a film, I'm just like, oh, this is so embarrassing. Why am I doing this? Why am I here? I need to not be watching this right now. But it feels like it's necessary to like complete the process. So it was, yeah, I feel like I was in my own reality whilst watching the film, but I don't know. It feels like that's when it exists when when you're watching it with an audience, and then it kind of like leaves you and it's its own thing. Um, yeah.
Well, I mean, it clearly resonated with the audience and with the judges, so that's always a good sign. And I want to start at the beginning. So Flint was inspired by a dream that you had. Can you tell us about that dream?
Yeah, I was making this film called In Camera. And I remember like consciously writing my dreams a lot. And that I would often find inspiration from like the dream I had the night before. And then I had a dream that had Rory in it, who I was working with on In Camera. And he was in this like field and the sky was jet black. And there was this kid that he was responsible for. And I remember like textures and colors, like the dream was really like yellow and I could see and hear meteor rocks and it felt like sounds so pretentious when I say it out loud, but it's like it would like it had like lava and like rocks and like all these textures and colors rather than a kind of like narrative or a story. So I kind of wrote all of that down and continued to like work them into a shape. Um, but it started as a feeling. I guess it was a feeling that I had within a dream. And that's the kind of thing that I just couldn't in my head shake. So I just had to make a film about it.
Yeah. What was it about that like feeling or that dream that like captured you so much that you decided to actually turn it into a film and also decide to like actually create it now and not just like shelve it for later or, you know, come back to it at a different time?
It's weird. I feel like films, like when you have an idea, they come with like a timer almost, where there's a certain time in which you can make a film, and then once it kind of expires, it expires. Like once the urgency has gone, it's gone. And with this, I was kind of like circling, trying to get it made for like 2 years. And short films are very difficult to get made, but I just had this feeling that if I didn't make this film, I wasn't going to be able to progress in the way that I wanted to. And the film that I made before this was a feature film. And it's such an undertaking to go through the process of putting together like a 90 something minute film that I kind of needed to just like hit reset and start again and really interrogate what my process was and to kind of delete any preconceived idea I had of myself when making this. But it was again like every time for me, it always starts with this feeling, and it's just completely like inarticulate feeling that you're trying to express that you have inside you, and you feel like the only way to do that is to make a film. So it was, yeah, it just had this, like, I had this urgency in me for no clear logical reason. Like, I need to make this, I need to express this in a short film. And at the same time, I need to like reset myself and go back to like innocence after coming into all this experience of making a film before this.
And did you feel like you got that reset with making this short film?
I do. I feel like I was a different person making this than I was making the film I made before. And I guess, yeah, I was able to like start again, but as much as I'm kind of excited by resetting and starting again, you realize that you are always kind of like coming back to similar ways of articulating a thing. And there's something quite exciting about that. I don't know, like a lot of filmmaking to me, like I think the reason why I struggle to sometimes talk about it in like a really clear, concise way is that it's such an intangible process. It's such a um crazy experience that is more rooted in like a dream life or an unconscious space. And obviously when you're making the film, you have very clear ideas of like what it is that you want to get on screen. Otherwise it just would be impossible. But it feels like as soon as you've committed them to being on screen, you become almost inarticulate about those ideas.
Mhm.
I don't know how to express it. And then I'm like kind of left feeling like I don't know how to explain the thing rather than just presenting the thing. And I know a lot of people say that, but I think it's true. I think if you could express something so cleanly, it probably shouldn't be a farm. Or maybe I'm just saying that because I see people talk about their farms and I'm like, wow, so you're so well put together. And then I'm talking about my farms and I'm like, yellow lava, meteor rocks, color, texture. Um, but yeah, I wouldn't be the artist I am and the person I am had I not made this film. And I think films are such a time capsule, creatively and personally, that they kind of like every film you make reshapes you. And I think the thing that I want to do next, like this is really shaped by understanding of that thing.
That that's really awesome. And you were talking about like the intangibles and kind of that something intangible that you're trying to describe, and then once you go about trying to describe it,
Hmm.
it kind of goes away again. And the one thing that I found really interesting with Flint is like what I'm seeing on screen visually being portrayed through like the gestures, through the colors, through the cinematography, the framing, um, was really like speaking to me like in terms of connecting to emotions that I had felt that I had like since, kind of unpacked enough, but it was like really interesting kind of seeing that emotion being portrayed visually on screen that way. So I think you captured it really well.
Hmm.
At least from my perspective, that was one of the things that I really, really enjoyed. And I think that's like one of the things that makes you so unique as a filmmaker is you're able to like capture these intangible, complex inner worlds in a way that is not, the typical way through like dialogue or just like typical scenes, but through the visual storytelling, in the visual storytelling in this case, also the gestures and the movements that the main character was portraying. And so, can you talk about that part of it, the visual storytelling, and how you kind of went about taking that sort of intangible feeling and turning it into something?
Yeah, like I remember after I made in camera, I knew that I wanted to implicate the body more. And I think I've always been interested in that, but to me, like the site of this story really was um the relationship between the camera and the body. I think so. I think because cinema is such a visual medium, it's such a bodily medium too. Um I think as people, we're constantly reading other people, aren't we? Like gestures and micro expressions. And I think there's something really exciting about embracing the like present moment that you're in. And I kind of want to make films that feel intensely present, that feel like having a physical interaction with somebody, but almost with this added layer of privacy. Like the camera is rendered kind of invisible, but it's still present. It's like a scene partner for this other person. Um, so I knew that the intangibility of the story, if you want to call it a story, or of the character, was going to be in absence. It's going to be everything that was not communicated, or figuring out how to physically communicate a thing rather than visually. And with this, like, I thought a lot about gesture. I thought a lot about the camera's relationship with the body. Um, and for the first time, I had never done this before, but I'd storyboarded the whole film. And I've always been kind of like anti-storyboarding because I feel like it can sometimes, I guess my preconceived idea of it was like it can be still, like it can almost like stilt the process and um not leave room for what happens. Um, but sometimes like it was about figuring those gestures out of like what I imagine, but also I work really quite very collaboratively with the actors, and it was a case of like developing a language with Rory and Max, who shot this film, um, to figure out what the key gestures for the film were. And then when you're editing that, you collect all of these gestures and you collect all of these images, and then you kind of create patterns with them and think about, oh, how he moved his hand here and how he's moving his body here feels like it's in dialogue with how he's moving his body there. And I guess you're like threading pattern recognition with all of the things that you've done, if that makes sense. So I feel like you're kind of collecting all these gestures and you're trusting the present moment. And oftentimes I'm like talking to Rory and Max during the take of like, can we move here? Let's do this. Let's do that now. And then you're kind of like threading them all together. Yeah, it's a really like delicate, intimate process, but I think there's something really interior about cinema as a medium, and I think it's like the most interior art form because it's the human face. Like there's nothing more intimate almost than that. Like you can really, it invites you to go somewhere inwards, and then when you pair that with sound and sound design, you can really go to kind of like this kind of dream space of a person.
I did want to touch on like the patterns and the repetition and the loops because there's so many different layers to the patterns and the details. Like some of it is in the dialogue, some of it is visual, some of it is in the movement, some of it is in the sound. And it seems like from what you were saying, not all of it was entirely planned, but all of it fits so well together. How do you create like an environment like that where, you have the ability to kind of have that happen organically while still also because you did storyboard, so I'm assuming some of that was
Mm.
pre-planned and some of it just sort of happened organically. Like how did you kind of balance those two?
Yeah, I think the thing that I've learned about myself is like I love and I need to be really over prepared. But when I'm in a scene, I'd throw away any preparation. I guess I kind of approach things like an actor. Like I've learned my lines. I know that I've made choices in my head before I've got there. But it's about like at the end of the day, to me, it's about being like fully present with the thing in front of you. And I think because I know what the film is and what I'm looking for, I immediately know when it's not that. So I'm able to like guide us like as a team towards the thing that it is. But it is about being like just fully present within the scene and being open to everything happening. And that is also like giving you dialogue. Like I do that a lot, like giving you dialogue within a scene, giving direction that isn't pre-planned. And it's just, I think it's about like, for me, it's about like becoming like an extension of the film, rather than like being an executor in any way. Like I'm entirely uninterested in like going to set and being like, we're going to execute this thing that I have already like kind of cut in my head. It's more like I have brought these people together and we've brought these people together and we're all looking for something together in this kind of like intimate, intangible way. And we're trying to find the most truthful expression of this thing that we've agreed to make together in that moment. And then it's about allowing I don't know, when I'm making a film, I feel really free. I'm most excited when I feel free in a scene where I'm like, I don't entirely know what's going to happen or where we're going to go, but I have such confidence in the collaborators that I'm working with and such trust in Rory in this instance that I know that we're going to arrive at this thing that we all are chasing. Um, and then post production is really like committing to protecting the thing that you made together. But yeah, it's to answer it simply, it's about like being over prepared and then throwing it all away and just looking for the thing in front of you and just like living so presently in a scene with those people.
Nice. So similar to in camera then, kind of that specific
Yeah,
process that happened there. And did you also take
yeah,
takes that were like wildly different the way that you did with in camera to kind of test things out,
yeah,
or did the
yeah.
storyboarding help kind of direct direct the direction, I guess?
Listen, I'm so ADD. I could not commit to like this is what we're doing. I'm like a little kid. I'm like, and then we're gonna go here, and now let's start talking about this. And we went off in so many different mad, unrelated directions. But I think like within camera, I remember Ricardo who edited that saying to me in the edit like everything you got that even wasn't relevant or like right or truthful to the film still like in a way it's like an iceberg, it still expands the world of the film. So we went off in so many different directions with Flint, but like all of it feels like it informs the thing, if that makes sense. Like for example, there's a scene in the film where he's like dancing in a supermarket or he's like making these movements in the supermarket. That wasn't scripted. That was like on the day when we were in the space, what it's the first thing we shot, watching Rory in that space. I just felt like, oh, guys, we're going to need another 30 minutes here because I need Rory to like go up and down these aisles and do something physical, but I'm not entirely sure what. But I feel like we captured this energy, and I think there's something to be like uncovered here. Um, so that was like something that's kind of like revealed whilst in the process of doing it. And I think those are the moments I'm chasing. And yeah, we went down so many different. I'm remembering like lots of like random stuff that we did that just didn't make the film. But yeah, it's like being in an improvisation, I think. Like I think I direct as if I'm in an improvisation with the actors that I'm collaborating with. And I'm kind of part of the scene. And there's something really exciting about that. And we did rehearsals as well for this. I rehearsed like everything I do. So we did like a day of rehearsals where we were able to like build like a trust as a group of actors and me, um, and to explore things that were instincts and impulses that we all had that we wanted to try out. So in a way, yeah, you're right. It was quite similar to the process of in camera, but I'd say because I know that about me now, I'm able to like facilitate it logistically in a way that allows me to do that, which wasn't always the case on in camera. But that's the learning you learn, you learn who you are and what you need on every film that you make.
That's awesome. And I love that you're like solidifying kind of your process a little bit more as the more you make these films. And the scene that you
Yeah.
mentioned in the supermarket, that ended up being like one of my favorite sequences. And it was a really nice parallel to this,
Mm.
like the sequence kind of before that one in the bedroom, where he's also kind of, there's some movement and gestures there as he's like going down the wall. So that was really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that when he has his hand on the wall in the bedroom. There's something so beautiful about
It is.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the sound design in that one too. And before we get into the sound design, because I still want to get into it,
Hmm.
just continuing off of this thread here, how do you then figure out kind of what the North Star is? Like, did you go back to the dream that you had and the feeling that you had back then in the sort of early notes there, or did that evolve into something else that became your North Star while you were filming in post production, sorry.
I think throughout every process of making a film, I can only trust like the most present current feeling. I'm very rarely going back to like once the script is written and we've like shot the script, I've never gone back to the script. I'm never going back to the original feelings. It's always about like, but what do I have in front of me? Because I think in my experience, sometimes going back, it trips you up because that's not exactly what happened anymore. It is like you're trying to remember a dream because when you shot the film, you have the footage in front of you, like the language that and references and ideas you put together was like the intention. You can't go back to that. You have to almost like just very boldly accept this is what we have and this is the film in front of me. How do I like shape the thing in front of me? And on this, I will be really honest, it was maddening. Like there was so many different directions that this could have gone in. And I felt a bit lost in the process of making this. And I think it's because with this being a short film, there was such, I really embraced ambiguity to the absolute max. Um, and not having clear narrative um answers of like, why is this person coming back home? Why is he doing X, Y, Z? And I was so committed to the process of discovery that made the possibilities almost like so large. Um, so there was a bit of like stumbling in post-production with this, but I think again, like that's something that has been a massive learning, and like I feel like it was entirely tied to the experience of making this film too. It's almost like the film is kind of like stumbling a bit,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's really interesting. That the film kind of reflected the process as well. And I love the
yeah,
ambiguity. And that's kind of like the nice thing about short films,
yeah,
like
me
the
too.
freedom to, you don't have to have a complete story, a complete narrative and have all the answers because it is like a short
Mm,
slice. And with this one in particular, because of the ambiguity as the audience, we could kind of, I think, connect a little bit more with like the feelings that were being portrayed. At least for me, that's what ended up happening. Like Rory was there as the main character,
yeah,
or as like a vessel to kind of like portray sort of feelings that I could relate to, as opposed to kind of seeing
yeah,
go through it separate from kind of myself, which was really interesting.
yeah. Because like with this film, I knew that Flint was the film. Like it was. I'm hesitant to say character study, but like it was like his body
Hmm.
and the performance that Rory uh, like um offered this film, like that was the site of where the short film was going to live. And like the film was 100%, it was like Rory's work was going to be the film. And it's like our collaborative work was going to make what the film was. Like it wasn't a story or a script or um the things that the building blocks that you need in narrative, like feature filmmaking. It was the kind of like intangible space in between everything that I was really interested in. Um, and yeah, I just the you have the performance, and then you have to just trust that other people are going to feel what you feel too, or not. And I think there's something quite exciting about that interpretive space of like, I shared this with a lot of friends during post production, and they were like, "Oh, I think it's about this or this," and they were such contrasting interpretations to this film, but it was exciting to kind of make something in this kind of like experimental, non-narrative way, even though it's still a narrative film.
Yeah, and you have talked in the past about not trying to like dictate a certain message or narrative and kind of letting the audience interpret things themselves and how they connect to whether it was in camera or in this case Flint. How do you kind of balance that? Because obviously you have like your own vision of what you want it to be or what
Mm.
you want to convey with it, and then you still want the audience to kind of have enough freedom to interpret it themselves. And also, have you seen any sort of interpretations that were like so off the mark that you're like, how did this happen?
I feel like I have like quite a flimsy like relationship to authorship. Like like I even though like I know I have a really clear vision and atmosphere and handle on the film that I want to make, I don't think I think once you give it to an audience, you are not the author. And I'm so comfortable being not the author when the film goes out that people saying kind of whatever they want, even if it's so wildly different from me, is what I want. Like I really think filmmaking is about collective authorship, and that really ends and begins with the audience who kind of receive the film. Um, so I'm not hung up on like, oh, but this is what I want it to be, and this is what it should be. Like, make of it what you will. Like, life is like that, right? Like, we can have a conversation. I can go away with something completely different, and you can go with something completely different. There's something interesting about like even though we often share experiences,
Mhm.
we never can fully share an experience. Does that make sense? Like
Yes.
we can't fully have the exact same interpretation of every conversation, relationship, experience. Like we are constantly reading and rereading it through our own lens. That I think filmmaking, in a way, should echo that. That I should have the clear vision of the thing that I want to make, because otherwise nothing's going to exist. But I don't. I don't think that begins and ends with me. I think I'm like one of the authors of the film, and another audience member is just as valid, if not more, to be like, oh, this is what the film is about. You know, it's about like you're like a chef. You're just preparing a meal for someone and giving the ingredients away, and they're going to make such different things with the meal prep service that you are,
Yeah.
I guess.
That's beautiful. Like the openness that you have to just let the audience kind of take it and make it into their own thing and not feel like that sort of like ownership to, or even like protectiveness over the work that you've done. I think that's really beautiful. And also creates like a lot of really interesting conversation after the fact, because everybody, like you said, is in like a different way, interpreting it from their
Yeah.
own perspectives with their own, experiences and backgrounds and contexts and identities, and bringing all of that in there, because watching a film is not a passive experience. Um,
No, but I think it's becoming a passive experience. Like I think there's so many like there's a certain type of filmmaking that when I watch it, I feel like there's no room for me anymore. And I don't ever want to make a film that is like robbing the audience of its agency. I guess I kind of want an audience member to feel like an actor in the film, in that I'm giving them like um I'm giving them the protection and direction of like this is where we're going, but I kind of want them to also be treated with agency so they can like make decisions about how they choose to receive and engage with something. Because like ultimately those are the experiences that I want to have when I go and watch a film. I want to be able to like be like, well, I think it's this, and make something of it in a really active way. I don't want to be passively told how to feel or be so manipulated, you know? Like I think there needs to be space for like an audience to like invite them in and be like, you can make of this what you want. And some people will find that kind of filmmaking frustrating, but a film can't be for everyone. So I'm totally comfortable with that.
yeah, it's like a film as an experience as opposed to like a story being told at you. And it is like different. And not to bring up AI, but something that you were talking about kind of came up in my mind as you were speaking, because there's sort of this like push for AI to sort of try to like bring audiences like on screen, and they'll be like, oh, like we can put your face in the movie. Like that's kind of what they're trying to do, is like put the audience member in the movie so you feel part of it, but you're still disconnected from it because the story itself is not necessarily pulling you in. But the way that you're doing it with like the story itself, engaging the audience without the gimmicky AI nonsense, is so much better in my opinion, and is like actually like gets your brain sort of like engaged and thinking, and yeah, I love that. And maybe it's also like me as well, being biased and just knowing the way that my brain works, like this is the type of storytelling that I'm really interested
But
in.
we need that though, isn't it? Like you say bias. So like that it is precisely the thing art is for now. Like
Mhm.
an artwork is to engage your bias and like engage your experience of the world and everything that has made you you, that is so different from me, and to invite you into that as a shared experience. Like I think that's to me anyway. I know people disagree, but like that's the whole point, I think, in doing this. Like you're offering one interpretation and view of the world, and that isn't the authoritative, correct view. It's just one view that you have, and you're sharing it with other people. And some people might feel the same way, and some people won't. And some people won't get it, and some people will identify with it deeply. And I think that is like that's the kind of culture and art that I want to be a part of.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I'm not really interested in like dictating like this is how I want you to feel and this is how you must engage with it, like whatever, you know?
And humanity is not a monolith either. Like we can have all those different types of storytelling and filmmaking experiences and
Yeah,
audience experiences that some people really engage with and really
completely.
connect to and others won't. Like that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of art is we get to like experience and express all different forms of human
Mm.
experiences and not everything has to be for everybody and that's okay.
Yeah, completely.
All right. So, okay, let's go into sound design because that was also just another really incredible part of this film. And for me, anyways, as I was watching it, so much of like the way that sound was being used was representing like the main character's sort of inner world, either kind of indicating something like restlessness or discomfort, or just like even like the loudness sometimes of like the sound. I was like, oh yeah, like
Mm.
it's because like he's internally like just really in his mind in this moment. And there's this sort of kind of like, maybe this is again my interpretation, but this sort of slow, kind of deep heartbeat that was sort of playing throughout the film, which I really, really enjoyed. So yeah, talk to us about the sound design and kind of what into that and how you kind of merged that with the visuals that you were presenting.
Yeah, I love sound design so much. It's the thing that makes me feel really excited to direct a film. Like, I think after working with actors, it's sound design that really inspires and excites me
Mhm.
because it's like painting. You're like painting an entire interior world. And I think so much of the thing I'm interested in filmmaking is this idea of like embodiment and how to tell a story with the body. And I think sound is this like unconscious mind. It's this inner landscape that really makes the things on screen feel really alive. And I'm not really interested in like matching sound to visuals and thinking about, okay, this is this visual. Now we need the sound for it. I think there's something so expansive about sound design and taking it in a place that feels totally interior and unconscious. So a lot of the ideas with this, even at a script level, were like sounds that I wanted to play with. And I collaborated with Tim Burns, who also worked on in camera, and he's amazing. Like, we really go to like we really like push things and push each other and go to a space that feels that we're really kind of like experimenting and riffing and trying to find the most truthful way to articulate and expand upon the performance that we have in front of us too. Um, so there are many like I guess like interventions in this film with sound that I think really expand the world for Flint and for us as audience members. Um, and it's very musical, the sound design on this as well. We don't have a score, but I think him should be credited as the composer too. Like there are so many moments in this film that how he's playing with sound and drones really becomes like a musical landscape. Um, but I find that process to be really expansive and just exciting. I'm just yeah, it's always my favorite work part after working with the actors.
Yeah, you were saying it doesn't like you're not trying to match the visuals, but you're adding to it, which is exactly why this was so beautiful for me is because like you're seeing something and then the sound is
Mhm.
just like adding a whole other dimension to what you're seeing and how you're interpreting it. Like there's a couple moments where it kind of indicated for me something like really significant happening in the main character's inner world, or like where like a loop completes or there's like tension release or something like
Yes.
that. Two quick moments where that happens is where
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
putting on the yellow jacket with his younger
yes.
self and he finally puts it on and then you get like the loud music and the whispering in the background, which sounds like it's a
Yeah.
speech being played backwards.
I think it is. Yeah.
I'm so curious what was
Yeah, it is.
said there. And then the other moment that was also really clear for me
Yeah.
is when he's like putting the knife away in the block in the end. We start getting like the song playing and like the soundtrack starting there. But then it like just in that little moment, it changes and like it's subtle, but it's like this a
Yeah.
significant change, and it like to me indicated something important happening for the character with such a like simple sort of visual scene. So could you talk about
Mm.
kind of that kind of changing the sound as you're
Yeah.
in those moments?
Yeah, like like because Flint isn't saying a lot in the film, it was our job when approaching the sound design to kind of create the expansiveness of this person on screen. And I think it's such a film about disassociation, and he's quite dissociative like throughout the whole film. and he's kind of going somewhere. You see him like retreat inside himself, and how we wanted to like articulate that and to create room in those spaces and have those spaces feel alive rather than dead spaces was to really elevate his like sonic world and what he's hearing, and like you said, create those loops and patterns. And I think often when thinking about sound design, it is like a form of writing. Like it's about invention. It's not about like creating an equivalency. It's about how are we inventing something that is then expanding the film. And those moments you cite are key places in the film where we like the film's almost like in a dialogue with itself and is looping and repeating those patterns. But also it creates a space for somewhere for him to go. And I think I didn't want him to be, even though there was an absence within that character, I didn't want to alienate an audience. I kind of, if he was going to retreat and go somewhere, I kind of wanted to go with him like a friend and not like a passive observer. And I think creating those spaces and expanding the image in that way just allows room to like let an audience move in. And my experience of watching it as well in the cinema, with it like turned really up, was that I don't know, there's something about sound design that to me personally, I think it implicates the body. Like when you have these sounds that are disruptive or loud or feel like incongruous, it is in some way, I don't know, a physical experience. And it's the thing that really makes you feel, I don't know, physically involved in some way is the best way I could put it. And I think to me, like that is the kind of filmmaking that I'm like chasing and like want to be a part of, like films that like really like physically and psychologically like implicate an audience member and invite them in. But yeah, we did a lot of pushing things to extremes. And like often I'm remembering now when I'm in the mix, I'm kind of sometimes joking a lot. Like I'll like say like, and this should be, I'm trying to think like it'll be like a really wild idea. And I'll kind of like pass it off as a joke. And then I've learned about myself that's almost like I don't know. I always try to encourage other people to have like ideas that might on the surface feel outrageous, because I think there's always like some kind of truth that's been communicated through like, what if we did this or what if we did that? So I think a lot of the key moments in the films are kind of like, yeah, just trying to like propose something that feels wild almost. I don't know how to say that in a more cohesive way. Um, but yeah, I see it as like interventions. Yeah, what were
Oh,
you
I was
saying?
gonna say, is it almost like kind of letting the subconscious sort of like run the show a little bit and like kind of just
Yes,
sort of with these
yes.
wild ideas?
Yeah, it is that. It is like as much as I'm trying to facilitate a space for other people's unconscious to come out and for them to follow an impulse, an instinct, a gesture, a choice. I'm also like I need that for me too. Like as an artist, I need to feel like I need to facilitate the conditions that I can just be like, and we're gonna go here now, and we're gonna go there now, and then often it's freeing yourself of the expectations that you have or the things that you need to get. And yeah, Tim and me just like would propose each other like wild ideas. Like I remember him being like, "What if he's breathing, but like it's a horse?"
Mhm.
I can't remember if that was Tim or me now, but um, it felt like it expanded it in some way. Like it wasn't just like a joke. And like even when the fish is talking, like it's such an absurd thing. Like this fish is communicating with him. Then Tim would like, I think he recorded the dialogue and like really messed with it. So there was like a sonic equivalent of like as well as the subtitles.
So I'm
Yes.
also curious about like your path to becoming a filmmaker. What did creativity or like creative expression look like for you as you were growing up? And like, was it part of your life? Did you ever see this kind of turning into something bigger, turning into a career?
Yeah, I didn't go to film school, and like I guess like all the cliches are true. Like I didn't know you could do this as a job. I didn't think this was a possibility.
Hmm.
Um, but once I realized that it was a possibility, I think I went to a film festival and I saw a director do a Q&A, and I was far too old to think this. Like I was at least 17, 18. I was like, oh, that's what I should be doing. Like that's what I want to do.
Mhm.
Um, you can do that. Um, yeah, and I think I always had ideas and this kind of like energy of the need to express those ideas, but just didn't have like the correct outlet for that, or like the understanding of like how you actually make a film. And now that I've made a couple, I'm kind of like always trying to go back to the naivety of that, because I think there's something really exciting about entering a medium that is a young medium and not fully knowing exactly what you want to do, but have a clear understanding of how you want to express yourself. And I think because it's such a young medium,
Yeah.
it is inherently quite like on a creative level, it's quite an accessible medium.
Mm.
But on like an institutional, capitalistic level, it's a very difficult medium to like seize the tools and play with, because requires so many people.
Hmm.
But I pitched in camera to like a lab here that doesn't exist anymore called iFeatures, and that's how I kind of got in. I pitched that to BBC and BFI and Creative England, and went through like a lab to make my first film. But had that not existed, I probably wouldn't have been able to make a film.
Yeah. No, independent filmmaking is like so vital and so important. And from what I'm
Mm,
seeing kind of in the industry, it's becoming harder and harder for up and coming filmmakers to like really kind of
yeah.
get a chance. And hopefully that changes and we kind of start getting that back again because I think people are realizing just how much that's needed in the industry. But yeah, hopefully that kind of
And I'm really excited just about like new filmmakers, like filmmakers born in the 90s, 2000s, later. Like I think how we view the world is so different, and so it's going to be such a challenge, excitingly, to how we push the medium forward, because I feel like filmmaking is always reworking itself and renewing itself every decade or so.
Mhm.
And I think how our generation and those younger use those tools is going to be so different. So I'm really excited to see like how that changes the medium, and that's what it should be. That's how it should be.
Yeah. And you've been like approaching filmmaking also as experimentation, and like trying out new things. Like I think with this one, this was your first time shooting on film. What was that process
Yeah,
like for you?
I love it so much. I never want to shoot on digital again. I love it. Like all of my favorite films, like all of the things I was thinking about that were films were also shot on Super 16. I just think it has like, I'm just gonna be a film bro for a second, just to be like,
Go for it. Do it. Do it.
I was so excited to shoot on film. But yeah, there's just something so, I guess there's something quite intangible about what it feels like and what it looks like,
Hmm.
that it lent itself to the intangibility of this film. And I also think it made me approach things in such a rigorous, pre-planned way that was really helpful for my process when thinking about this film. And I think there's something about this film that felt like muddy and earthy and really human, in the way the last film I made felt hyper digital and almost like it was a bit removed from reality.
Hmm.
That the desire to make this film and to make something like earthy, it felt like visually the best way in which to execute those ideas and to express that feeling was through working on Super 16 specifically. And um, I worked with Max Pitt, who is an amazing DP, and we had a great collaborative relationship. And it felt like Super 16 was the best choice for this creatively. Like we did some tests, and this felt like the best way to articulate this um this film. Yeah.
Yeah. It was really nice to see like the film grain in it. And again, it added another dimension to the whole story as well. Just in general, how much of like filmmaking for you is about like learning and kind of chasing curiosity and trying something new versus kind of like actually working on getting the idea that you have out and like creating
Mm,
that?
um, I think I'm just always trying to excite myself and to like destroy any preconceived ideas I have about myself. That it is like it's always to be honest, it's always collaboration. Like I don't want to be a novelist. Like I have a clear idea of the film I want to make, but I really want to find it with the people I am making the film with.
Mhm.
So because I'm quite like a reactive person, like I love how filmmaking is a medium that really requires like the friction of so many different minds.
Mhm.
And there's something really exciting about being in a leadership position, like being a director and being able to facilitate those conditions and to bring your idea as like kind of like the driving agent and catalyst of like the thing you want to inspire in other people. But then also really kind of like luxuriating in this gift that they're giving you, which is like their experience, their mind, their ideas about the world. And I don't know, like making that the kind of like subject. So I'm really excited by that kind of collaborative, explorative process. And I think I am so invested, obviously, in the final form, but it really is the process. Like I think I'm like a process driven artist rather than like a product results driven artist. That it's about like the journey of the thing that you're making because that's like when all like the collaboration and artwork is happening. Like you're doing it when you're making the thing, and when you're putting the thing out, it's a it's totally separate. It's a totally different thing. Like even this, like chatting to you or going to a film festival and sharing the film, like it's distinctly separate from making the thing, and they're just two different things.
Yeah. I love that like you're focused so much on your process and obviously like I love hearing about it because it's so unique.
I'm enjoying this chat, by the way. That wasn't to be like,
No, I totally
that
get it.
over there is what I want to do. This though,
No, I
no,
totally get it. Like being
no.
in the actual like process of creating the film versus
But
talking about it afterwards is yeah, they're
yeah,
different worlds. But as you're like
yeah.
creating more of these films, do you find that there's kind of like pressure from others, whether it's like the industry or individuals or other filmmakers to kind of change your process or to like change the way that you approach filmmaking and kind of more like conform almost to more, I don't want to say traditional, but kind
Mm.
of more like expected ways of going about this in the industry?
I feel no pressure because I can only be me, and I'm only interested in making the films that I want to make. And because I'm not approaching it from like a careerist point of view, I really don't care. Like, this is how I make films. These are the films I want to make. If you want to be part of it, great. Like, so excited to work with you. If you don't, then we're not meant to work together, and that's totally fine.
Mhm.
So I don't feel that pressure, but it is really difficult to like get a film made. But if I had to bend a film into a shape that felt inauthentic, in a way that felt inauthentic, I'd like to think I wouldn't make it.
Mm. That's yeah, that's a very good like mentality to have. And I think you had said before like Flint, you tried to kind of stretch it into a feature and then it kind of snapped back. So it's nice that you like stuck to what it felt like it wanted to be and what was the best kind of for that.
I think people think short films and they think, oh, it's a calling card and I need it to like progress my career. And I just think that's not it for me. Like I really want to keep making short films in between developing things that are a feature, but I have like a real respect for the short form medium. And I guess it's like a short story versus like a novel. Like some things shouldn't be 90 minutes plus. Like some things want to be like a 2 page or a 2 minute short story. And I think even though it's a lot of work, like making this has been just as difficult as making in camera, I'd say, and just as significant, but it doesn't have the same like kind of outcome. It's so much harder. It's way more difficult. It's not as resourced. Like even putting it out, like it's a short film, like truthfully, probably nobody cares. Like these kinds of things. But like I don't know, I feel really invested in the process and in the medium
Hmm.
that I kind of don't allow myself to sit in those other things for too long at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I think there's like definitely a very like important part that short films play, especially with like
Yeah.
reduced attention spans that we're kind of seeing right now,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But I'm glad that you made this one, and I wanted to touch on something
Thank
else,
you.
kind of this sort of cyclical nature of what it feels like your like creative process, because you mentioned that this
Mm,
idea came to you as you were working in camera, and then right now you're working on another feature that you kind of wrote as you were working on Flint.
yeah.
What's that been like for you? And like, are you seeking out sort of inspiration, or do you just sort of let ideas kind of come to you and keep bugging you and haunting you until you like turn it into something?
I mean, yeah, it's that. I think everything's reactive, just like everything in life. Like having a conversation with someone, meeting someone, like everything is in dialogue with everything that's happened to you as a person. So I think it's just a natural thing that I made this film in camera. I had a dream on the set of in camera for another film, and then my next project was the dream that I had. Um, and I don't have like any like in 5 years would like to be here, or like I don't have those kind of grand careers like plans. Not that those are bad plans to have, I just don't have them.
Mhm.
Um, and I think there's something so inspiring about the process of making something that it makes so much sense that that process would then generate other ideas. I think like all the ideas I've been working on in the past couple of years came from like post production or production on in camera. And similarly, like all the ideas I'm working on now came from the process and post production period of Flint.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I find this in other people, like being friends with filmmakers now, right? It's like seeing the continuity of um someone's work and like seeing someone like shape into like who they are and how their second film speaks to their first film and how the other stuff they do around it speaks to it. I think there's something really exciting about that as a process.
Hmm. Yeah, and yeah, creativity kind of breeding more creativity is always a
Yeah.
good place to be in. And it's interesting that you say that you see that with other filmmakers because I'm seeing kind of unifying threads already through like your past work. Like I watched Stock as well, and I
Mm.
tried to find
Oh no, you
familiar.
saw that?
But I'm already seeing like unifying threads through like all of the work that you've done in terms of like both like technique, but then also like the feelings that are being evoked, which is really,
Mm.
really cool to see. And speaking of your
Oh, I appreciate that.
speaking of your
Yeah.
next feature, is there anything that you can or would like to say about that? And we can end with that as well.
I don't think so. I think
That's
what I, not because I don't want to, but because I'm still in that delicate process of
fine.
writing something that it could become something completely different tomorrow. But
Yeah.
um, I guess I read it back after putting it away for a couple of months, and I was like, oh, it makes so much sense that I would that I would write this. Like, I guess, like, it makes, yeah, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
It feels, I'm really excited about it, and I have nothing to say that's interesting
No,
that
that's
would
fine.
make sense to you right now.
No, that's fine. It's still early days, and I'm again just excited to see you put out more work and get some of those ideas. Because again, like we need more people that are like you in this industry, and more representation
Yeah,
from people who are of like varying backgrounds, people who are Muslim, people who are people of color, and
yeah.
excited to see the next one when it comes out. The name Flint, can you tell us about that? Because I mean, there's like the dictionary definition, there's my interpretations, but where did that come from for you?
It was in the dream. I remember like writing down that I was saying to Rory something about Flint, and I didn't know what it meant. So when I woke up, I was Googling like Flint, and I was saying to him, in the scene, I need you to be like flinty, and I need you to take it in a weird direction. Like I think I was directing him in the dream as if we were on set, probably because we had done like a 15-hour day of in camera. And yeah, in the dream, I was like, I need you to be flinty. And then obviously there were meteor up. So somewhere in my head, I must have known what it meant, but then forgot. And then I called him Flint, and then we just built the entire thing around that. But again, like I kind of love how I didn't really know or understand it's something I took from a dream life, or like this dream that I had. Um, I like the kind of process of like not fully intellectualizing or understanding the thing that I'm making. Just enough so I can like help everyone I'm working with and like build something cohesive. But um, there's something interesting about being unknown to yourself too, if that makes sense. But yeah, Flint, it was just from the dream, so I couldn't tell you the logic point.
Thanks again to Naqqash for his time. You can watch Flint on BBC iPlayer starting February 27th, aka this Friday. And if you want to support Obscure, you know where to find us, obscure.co.uk. You can sign up for free to our newsletter to receive things just like this to your inbox every week. And you can become a paid sub, £5 a month or £52 a year to keep supporting this kind of work. And you can shop our merch, shop.obscure.co.uk.